Yeah. Trying to beat you up. Come downstairs. You know you in front of the courthouse trying to act like you're tough. Like, yeah, what's up? Yeah, let's go around the corner. Let's go around the corner. Come on, let's go. Trying to beat you up. Turn around. Like your mother's ugly? Like your mother's ugly? Oh, okay. Same thing. Okay. Watch. Yeah, okay. We can test her right now. Right now. Right now, ugly. Everything. Oh, you thought you was gonna see something ugly, bitch. You wasn't. But you wasn't. Same here. You see what's up? Same here. You see what's up? Oh, okay.
Nobody expected him to take the stand, let alone speak against the woman he once called his queen. When Papoose walked into that courtroom, the room went still. Every phone was lifted, every whisper silenced. This wasn't a rap battle or a red carpet moment. This was real life. This was a man facing the hardest decision of his life: tell the truth or protect the woman he had stood by through everything. But as he looked across the room at Remy Ma, dressed in a cold gray suit with her hands clenched and eyes glassy, something shifted. The same love that once made him fight for her freedom now brought him to a point of no return. And what he said next left everyone breathless. But to understand why Papoose would ever do something like this, you have to rewind back to a time when their love was untouchable. Papoose and Remy Ma weren't just any couple. They were the blueprint for loyalty. When Remy went to prison back in the day, Papoose didn't fold. He didn't leave her. He didn't cheat. He held her down like very few would. He visited her, supported her, even postponed their wedding to marry her behind bars. To the world, their bond was legendary. The kind of love you only see in movies or in pain-filled verses on mixtapes. They built their lives around that loyalty. They raised children, supported each other's dreams, and wore their struggle like a badge of honor. But all of that was tested in the most brutal way possible. It all began with one tragic night, one that changed everything. Reports came out that a young man had been murdered in the Bronx, shot multiple times. It didn't take long before whispers turned into headlines. The suspect? A teen with ties to the streets, and allegedly, Remy and Papoose's son. Not the one they kept out front in the media, but their oldest, from a previous relationship. Someone they tried to shield from the spotlight. Someone they thought they could save. The media caught on quick. Rumors began swirling that Remy had known more than she let on. That she may have helped her son clean things up. Allegedly erased messages, maybe even helped him get out of town temporarily. People said she did what any mother would, protect her child at all costs. But this wasn't just any case. This was a murder, a life lost, and the police weren't playing. At first, both Remy and Papoose stayed quiet. Their social media pages went dark. No posts, no comments, nothing. But people started connecting dots. A cryptic post from Remy weeks before the murder now looked like a warning. Sometimes silence is safer than truth. Fans weren't sure what it meant back then, but now it sent chills. When the investigation picked up, police raided a home linked to their son. They seized devices, found a weapon, and got into his phone. That's when things got even darker. Detectives uncovered messages that hinted someone had coached him on what to say. Texts that looked like someone was trying to help him avoid charges. Someone older. Someone familiar. It didn't take long before prosecutors began pointing fingers at Remy Ma. The news hit hard.
People were stunned.
How could Remy, who had already served her time, who had rebuilt her life, be back in court? And worse, possibly facing charges for trying to protect her son from a murder charge? Papoose stayed silent. But the damage was already starting to show. He wasn't by her side at her first court appearance. He didn't post any supportive messages. People noticed. The same man who once stood outside prison gates waiting for her wasn't in the frame anymore. Things escalated fast. The DA charged Remy Ma with obstruction of justice and being an accessory after the fact. They claimed she helped her son evade law enforcement, that she tampered with digital evidence and even spoke to key witnesses, warning them not to talk. Remy denied everything. Her lawyer argued that she was just a mother in pain, trying to understand what happened, that she never interfered, and that the messages were taken out of context. But the prosecution wasn't backing down. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Papoose was listed as a potential witness. Fans went into a frenzy. There's no way he'd testify, they tweeted. He'd never turn on Remy. But as the trial approached, it became clear Papoose had been subpoenaed. And after long discussions with his own legal team, he agreed to testify. Courtroom sketches showed Remy staring blankly as her husband walked in.
She didn't blink.
Didn't cry. She just watched. Papoose avoided her gaze, looking down as he raised his hand and swore to tell the truth. The judge asked if he understood the weight of what he was about to say. He nodded. And then he began. He spoke slowly, carefully, like every word could explode. He admitted that tensions had been growing at home, that Remy was deeply protective of her son, that when the murder happened, she broke down. She couldn't believe it, he said. She kept saying, "Not my baby, not my baby." He explained how she spent days in bed, barely eating, barely speaking. But then, according to him, something changed. She got quiet, calculated. She started making calls, deleting texts, telling people to keep things in the family. The courtroom was dead silent. Even the judge seemed shaken. Papoose said he tried to stop her, that he told her they needed to come forward, to tell the truth. "I told her we can't protect him from this. We have to let the law do its job," he said, his voice cracking. But she said the system never protected her. So, why should she trust it with her child? When he finished speaking, Remy finally broke. She looked at him, not with anger, but with deep, aching sadness. Her eyes welled up, and for the first time since the trial started, she cried. Not a sob, just tears. Quiet, controlled, painful. After that day, everything shifted. The media exploded. Headlines blared. Papoose turns on Remy. Hip-hop's strongest couple broken by tragedy. Justice versus loyalty. Fans were divided.
Some said he did the right thing.
Others accused him of betrayal. Old interviews resurfaced, where he promised to ride for Remy forever. Now, they felt hollow. Back in court, Remy's legal team made a bold move. They put her on the stand. She testified in her own defense, something most lawyers try to avoid. But she insisted. Her voice was low, steady, almost too calm. She didn't deny her actions. She admitted she deleted some messages,
Spoke to people.
asked questions she probably shouldn't have. But her reason? "I didn't want to bury my son," she said. "I've buried too many friends, too many brothers. I wasn't ready to lose another one." She begged the court to see her not as a criminal, but as a mother. Someone who had spent her whole life fighting to survive. First in the streets, then in prison, then in the industry. She said, "I've paid for my past. I've rebuilt myself. All I ever wanted was to give my son a chance at life. And now I'm facing prison again for loving him too much." The courtroom was moved. Even some jurors looked shaken. But the law doesn't run on feelings. It runs on facts. And the facts didn't look good for Remy. The jury was left with a brutal choice: show mercy to a mother or punish a woman who may have tampered with justice. Meanwhile, public opinion went wild. Twitter was flooded with arguments. #FreeRemy trended alongside #JusticeForTheVictim. Celebrities posted mixed messages. Some, like Fat Joe and Cardi B, showed quiet support. Others stayed silent. Some fans even turned on Papoose, calling him a snitch. But others praised him, saying he had the courage to tell the truth, even when it broke him. Behind closed doors, the empire was crumbling. Insiders whispered what the cameras couldn't catch. Papoose was shattered. Not the rapper, not the strong Black King fans had idolized, but the man, the husband, the father, torn in half. Ever since Remy took the stand and the truth spilled out like poison, he hadn't spoken a single word to her. Not a call, not a letter, not even a text. He moved out of the home they once built with dreams, love, and platinum plaques, now living alone in a condo uptown, surrounded by silence and shadows. One close friend said, "He still wears his ring, not 'cause he's holding on, but 'cause he don't know how to let go." The trust?
Gone.
The love? Still breathing, barely. but it was gasping under the weight of betrayal. The trial dragged on like a wound that wouldn't close. Headlines exploded daily. Remy Ma obstruction charges mount. Papoose seen alone again. Hip-hop's royal couple on the edge. Inside the courtroom, Remy was a statue of steel. No tears. No breakdowns. Just the occasional glance toward the empty seat where her husband once sat, hands folded, eyes locked in silent prayer. When the final verdict dropped, guilty of obstruction of justice, but acquitted of being an accessory to murder, the courtroom froze. 5 years. Not life. But 5 years was still a lifetime in the world of a woman who'd already fought tooth and nail to rebuild her name. She didn't flinch. She just whispered something to her lawyer and stood like a soldier. Outside, the media mobbed the exits like wolves. All eyes were on Papoose.
He didn't speak.
Didn't shout. Didn't even blink. He just walked past the chaos, hoodie up, rings still on, heart still bleeding. But that night, the silence broke. Instagram story, black screen, white letters. Sometimes the truth don't set you free. It just breaks your heart.
Boom.
Viral. Millions of shares in hours. Fans went into overdrive. Was it aimed at Remy? At the justice system? At himself? Speculation became gospel. Blogs ran wild. TikToks dissected every angle. But beneath the noise, one truth echoed louder than any headline. Love and loyalty had collided with the cold blade of justice. Remy's legal team filed an appeal the next week, citing new evidence that could slash her sentence. Maybe a retrial. Maybe probation. Maybe hope. But by then, the real story had shifted. This wasn't about courts anymore. This was about the firestorm that erupts when a woman protects her child at all costs and the man who has to decide whether to protect her lies or protect his soul. The question hanging in the air wasn't, will Remy walk free? It was, will their love survive the sentence? Because sometimes prison isn't a cell. Sometimes it's the silence between two people who once swore they'd never lie to each other. And in that silence, love either dies or becomes unbreakable. This was the test. Now, fans are asking, will Papoose and Remy ever recover? Will time heal this wound? Or is this the end of one of hip-hop's strongest bonds? What do you think? Did Papoose do the right thing by testifying? Or did he betray the one woman who always had his back? And should Remy be punished? Or was she just a mother trying to save her son? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Gossip Spill for more shocking celebrity twists, courtroom drama, and the real stories behind the headlines. Because the story? This one might just haunt hip-hop forever.